Hi there, and welcome back to 3R Guitars. I've been working on this most of the day now, just really like odds and sods and just fitting up really. I suppose the biggest part is I'll have to be careful with this because this is the neck. You can see what I've done on the headstock. I've actually made a few more pre-decimal notes, printed some out, and I've stuck them to the headstock. Now you can see that the headstock is like a pound sign sort of thing, like a stylized pound sign. I'm really liking that actually. I sprayed the notes with cellulose lacquer, stuck them on basically with lacquer, and I just brushed a quick coat over the top of them so they look good. The marker dots are looking very messy at the moment, but I've used 1930s threepenny bits, which are silver threepenny bits. They're not the angular ones, sort of thing. So I can only get them up to the 12th fret before the spacing gets to, but they're quite a small coin. They're probably same sort of size as modern 5Ps sort of thing, and I've inset them, and I've put some resin on top of them. That's obviously got to be filed down and made neat, but it's a bit messy actually, but anyway, you know, I think it will be okay. So it's actually dripping everywhere at the moment, but perhaps I should have put a little dam of plasticine around them or something and filled them up, but they're kind of just looking across them, they're kind of above the level I need, the resin is, so hopefully that'll be okay. That stuff, you know, the only downside of it is that it takes a long time to dry. But yeah, so you can I don't want to turn it, but what I can do is that you can see the sixpences in there now. So that's sorry, not sixpences, threepenny bits. Yeah, there we go. So I think that neck's looking really nice. On the body now, what I've done, I still haven't sanded it to shine it up because I've got so much more work to do on it, sort of thing, anyway, before we get to that. But I've actually fitted done all the screw holes and everything for the bridge. I'm putting 7 screws around there actually. I mean 3 would have probably been enough, but I quite like the sort of Victorian industrial look sort of thing, so I put 7 around there, plus the fact I was a bit worried regarding how well the resin would hold the wood screws. I tried screwing in these brass screws and broke one off, so I want to get some steel screws to do that, which might not be as nice because the screws will be silver, but I can't really help that. I mean, I'd rather not having the risk of them break off, because you know, if they break off then you're in a whole world of pain trying to drill the bastards out, sort of thing. So anyway, that's quite good. You can see as well what I've done. This is what I'm using for the instead of the pickup ring. I'm actually going to put these pennies either side of the pickups and screw them to the body, and then have a hole in them to do the adjustment. So I think they'll look good. I must admit I felt a bit guilty chopping up 100-year-old pennies, sort of thing. It felt a bit funny doing that. But yeah, so that's where I've basically got to today. It's been a bit of a fiddly day, but just getting stuff sorted really. So I think you know, it's coming on, but it always gets a bit slow at this stage when you realise you need, I need more screws, I need this, I need that. What I'm waiting for as well is this is a cheap Japanese bridge, sort of Chinese bridge or whatever, which I don't want to use. I've got a Goto one on order, so that will be the next thing. Hopefully tomorrow those I can work with the neck, The resin will be dry over the threepenny bits. Then I can fit the neck, and I think the bridge is coming tomorrow, so then I can set the bridge up and everything like that and go from there. I'm also finding it very difficult, like I say, screwing into this resin, and I haven't got small enough drill bits. I mean, like I say, I've got with these chopped down pennies, you know, I've got these little screws to go. That one won't fit. I've got some little screws to go in. Here you go. I've got some little screws that will go in like that, and I need about a 2mm drill, I think, for 1.5mm drill for the, you know, to drill in the resin and screw in. And I haven't got one, and I tried. You know, the one drill I've got is slightly big, sort of thing. I just don't want to get it wrong. So when I get them, the drills, then I can get all the pickups fitted and things like that. So yeah, there we are abouts now. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff on order, electrical stuff for it and things like that. I suppose what I can start doing is sanding the top and getting the thing flat and start polishing it. When it comes to the back of the guitar, it's got the old finish from the wooden table sort of thing, that it was a table, obviously. And I'm actually quite, I mean, it's got dents in it from its life as a table and things like that, and I would have to do an awful lot of sanding to, you know, get this up to looking like new. And you know, I'd have to take a good millimetre off it or so, probably a bit more than that, and I don't really want to do that, so I might just kind of do what I can with that, make it kind of look nice and just leave it a bit weathered. But yeah, there we go. So it's all coming on and looking really good now, I think. So there we go. Thank you. Well, hi there, and welcome back to 3R Guitars. Just carrying on with this resin topped money shot guitar. Yeah, so what I've been doing is I want to start assembling the top, so it's not worth doing that before polishing the resin. So I've spent a few hours like polishing the resin now. One thing I've noticed with it, like it looks a bit dusty. And when I actually look in the resin, it's almost like it's either got absolutely minute bubbles in it, or there's like a dust in it or something. And I always find with these, you know, with things like resins and paints and all that kind of thing, they're so fickle to like temperature, moisture, all sorts of things. Probably if you did this resin pour on a really sunny day or something where it was nice and warm and dry, and you know, it would be okay, but then maybe it would get too hot and not set or something. You know, there's always like atmosphere affects things like that so much. I mean, I do obviously a lot of guitar painting, and I've sprayed a few cars in my time and things, and yeah, it is always a bit in the lap of the gods how things turn out. So this is what it looks like anyway, which I'm absolutely perfectly happy with. And to be honest, I quite like the less than completely transparent look. I mean, the coins are meant to look old and everything like that, so I'm really happy with the overall look on it. But just if you guys want to try a similar thing with a resin poured guitar, you really seem to have to, you know, I'm just warning you that you know, sometimes getting perfect results is in the lap of the gods a little bit, and maybe, like, you know, follow the instructions on the product absolutely to the letter. So what I've got left to do on the guitar now, you know, woodwork wise, is I've got to clean up the edges here, and you know, there's junk around the edges and whatnot, but at least the top is now done enough so I can start assembling stuff on there. So the next job really, oh, I'll show you the, well, hi there, what a fiddly day. So I have the front pickup mounted, and you can see pretty much exactly how I've done it. I've cut down the edges some pennies, and there's the adjusting height screws and the, you know, the two mounting screws, so I'm not using a pickup surround. And generally whenever you do anything like this, you know that you're doing something a bit out of the ordinary, always leaves you with a few problems. But the main problem here has been getting these little brass screws in. I've been very mindful of them snapping, and especially where I've got a coin underneath in the resin and I'm trying to screw down, and obviously when the brass screw reaches the coin, you know, it's only a wood screw, it's not going to go into metal. And so I drilled out a clearance hole, you know, through and down in the coin, but then the hole is basically a bit too deep to get a good like purchase. So I was trying to, you know, I suppose, let's say, bodge it a little bit where the screw had a bit of grip in the coin underneath, but ended up with my nightmare and one broke. So what I've done, equally the screws don't go very well into this resin anyway, so what I did, I've actually here, this is normal where there's no coin underneath, so I'm just going resin into wood. I more or less had to drill a clearance hole in the resin, and then a smaller hole in the wood so the screws go in the wood. But I've also filled the holes in the resin with glued in toothpicks, and that really does make the screw grip as normal, the little brass screws. But here was what I've ended up doing where there's a coin, is I've actually drilled out the holes bigger to like 6 mil, and then I've hammered and glued in wooden dowels so the screws just go in. And really I could have done that everywhere if I'd have known how things were going to work out. That's what I'd have done. But anyway, so that's that. So you can see now how the pickup is mounted, quite funky really, giving it quite a steampunky look, I think, which is, you know, after all, what, you know, this is Victorian, so you know, Victorian coins and whatnot. So I'll get putting this back pickup in now, and you know, once you've got the technique sorted, it's not too bad, but it's just a bit of a pain in the arse trying to work out how to do it. But those dowels, I should have done it, like I say, in the first place. Didn't really think about it. So here we go. I'll get on putting the back pickup in now, and we'll go from there. Also, well, hi there, welcome back to 3R Guitars. I'm taking a bit of a sabbatical on this for a few days. I was getting so many problems, mainly with inlaying these threepenny bits into these old 1930s silver threepenny bits into the fretboard. What seemingly was a beautifully simple job turned out to be a nightmare. And I think the main problem was that I used the same cast-in resin as doing the body here, but the problem is that when you're only mixing up a tiny bit, it's very difficult to get the you know, the proportions right. Basically it's 50% of the hardener to 100% of the resin, and you know, if you get that slightly wrong, I was reading the instructions, You know, they made quite a thing of like, on no account put more hardener in or whatever, so it's got to be right. And basically when I do the body, it takes a litre of the hardener and they sell it already in a litre sort of thing, and they put it in a bigger bottle, so it's it's only 3/4 full with a resin, and you just upend the hardener into it because it's the right amount, and you know, Bob's your uncle sort of thing. But when I was trying to do this, I think I was getting it slightly wrong, and the problem was that it just wasn't drying properly. You know, it was remaining soft, and maybe I should have left it for a few more days. You know, but I'd start like sort of working it and it would be soft and like, oh, no good. So what I've done in the end is, I mean, they look all right now, but I actually used some of Screw Fix's epoxy glue, which is the no nonsense epoxy. I mean, it's really cheap. 5 minutes it dries in, and you know, it did a really good job actually. You know, the sixpences, I've only quickly sanded them, so they're not polished yet, but you know, the resin's the epoxy's pretty clear, so I'm pleased with that. I mean, I tried to do it twice with the original resin, and it went wrong both times, and the mess digging it out, you know, you end up damaging the edges of the holes, and I thought, oh god, I can't go through all that again, it's going to be a nightmare. The other thing I've done is I've inlaid a penny in as the truss rod cover, which I think looks really cool. It's not on top, it's inlaid, so that looks really neat. And one of the reasons why I took a bit of a rest from it was I just didn't have the stuff. I ordered it and it seemed to take ages to come, but I've got it now. And let me put you down here. So here's the guitar here. Now I've got a decent bridge, a Gotto bridge. So what I'm going to do is, I've done 7 mounting holes around here. I know that's far too many, you know, 3 or 4, 5 would have easily done it. But 2 things, I want the guitar to have a kind of industrial look, so I don't mind having, you know, these round head screws. It just looks different, and I think with 7 round here, it will look a bit like 7 rivets, which will look really nice, I think. But the problem I've got is that, you know, when we did the pickup mountings with these pennies, I was a real bother getting the pennies to screw down, and in the end I drilled holes, and bigger holes, and then put dowels in, glued them in with super glue, and then screwed into the dowels, which brilliant, absolutely worked perfect. But you know, this whole assembly has this tailpiece thing, it anchors the string, so there's going to be quite a tug on there. So what I'm going to do is, I've got 25 million, this resin is 10 to 12 mil thick. I put it on at 12 mil, but it's been sanded a bit. So I've got 25 mil long screws so basically I can ignore the resin as being an anchor point, just drill a clearance hole through there and then screw into the mahogany underneath. So with a 25 mil screw, there'll be 15 mil of thread into the mahogany on the back, which is really hard wood. So, well, this mahogany is. So I think I'll be fine then with 7 screws. So that's what I'm going to do in the first instance. Plus the fact as well is, I don't think I'll be using brass screws for this. I think I'll be using steel screws. It's just that, I mean, I might use brass, but I think steel will look all right. But the problem with the brass screws is there's just that risk of them snapping, and if they snap, I'm in the shit. So I've got some brass screws I can try, and I think one of these has got steel screws as well. So we'll go from there, because I bought these brass screws, you know, in a pack sort of thing from eBay, and my God, they just like hardened cheesecake. You start screwing them in and then they break straight away. So, you know, I'll have to see what these ones are like and stuff. So I'll get unpacked and see what I've got and bring you back. Thanks. Well, I used these stainless steel screws for the to hold the tailpiece on, and really pleased. They went in absolutely solid with no hint of, you know, breaking or twisting or anything. They'd screwed in perfectly. And you know, I was also worried a little bit about them being like chrome looking, but I really don't think you can tell, because I think they take the shine from the brass back plate, so they look, I love them anyway. I mean, and it's absolutely solid. So let me see if I can find a guitar string. Right, found a guitar string now. So I mean, it's not that technical really, but you can see what happens is you ball end of the string goes in there and then slides into the front section of the keyhole slot. So that's how the strings are held on. It's pretty neat actually. There we go. That's that. Yep. Now the next thing I've got to do is position the bridge. So we've got the Gotto bridge here. It's going to be somewhere around there, pretty close to there. But I'll screw the neck on. Do that now. Where's my neck plate? Here we are. So there's the rebate for the fancy V for Vendetta neck plate. Goes on there. I mean, I just put some temporary screws in for now. I don't really know what I'm going to be using, so I'll be using steel screws again, but let's just get it in. One screw might be enough. It's annoying actually in some respects using that'll be fine. Using slot head screws, because you can't use your electric screwdriver. It's just so much slower. But there we go. So we've got the neck located now. How are we doing? There we go. Yeah. So it's a Fender scale length. You can check that. I've got the old scale ruler here. That's not Fender. This is Fender here. So you can measure to the 12th fret and then measure from the 12th fret, and that's where the bridge goes. So the bridge is basically going here, and what I'll do is, you know, the high E string I'll put like more or less in the middle of its travel and line it up with the 12th fret, and for the bass side I'll tip the bridge back a little bit, like they are on Les Pauls. I mean, as long as they go back by about, you know, you can get away with them straight, but because you can, you know, you put these saddlers on, you know, the bottom three, for the bottom three strings facing backwards and the front three facing forwards, but it gives you a bit of extra wiggle room if you move the bridge back on the bass side by, you know, by about 3 mil or something like that. I think it either put it on straight or put it on with a definite kickback, because if you put it on, I'll just put it a little bit back, it looks as though you've put it on wonky sort of thing. So there we go. I'll get measuring that out accurately. We've got to drill holes then to take these posts. What I'll do is I'll drill and I'll tap these holes with a tap. I think these are just a 4mm metric thread. We'll tap those and put them in there. That will give them a bit of extra solid sort of thing, and then we'll get that set. But let's get it positioned first. Not too difficult a job. Well, hi there again. Rightio. I marked the bridge line on here, just straight across, like double the distance of the 12th fret. Now we've got the put the bridge on, and then made sure that, you know, the string line down the edge of the neck lined up with near enough the centre of each string saddle, or the outer string saddles, both these sort of thing. And, you know, it's fairly easy to do, but make sure you get it right. What I did then was I got a drill, a 4mm drill, which the posts are, held the bridge in its correct position, put them in, and then just whacked them to just give it a bit of an indication of where they are, where the holes go. I'm going to drill these with the tailpiece on the guitar. I don't fancy unscrewing it all and risking this tape moving sort of thing, so I'd rather do it on the guitar. Now the thing is, so I guess this was about 4mm, but I've got a set of taps and dies here for cutting threads. So I've got the 4mm thread out, and you can check it. You can put it on, and you can see that the actual pitch of the screws is the thing. Is if you're uncertain, you know, that's a good indication. Or you can get a set of thread gauges, which basically have got the teeth of the thread on them, sort of thing, so you can see them better on there we go. So you can check the pitch of the thread there, sort of thing. So this is actually M4, so metric, 4mm diameter, and then 0.7, and the 0.7 is the actual pitch of the thread. So from the tip of one thread to the next down, it's 0.7mm. So that's what that means. But yeah, you can buy a set of taps and dies for next to nothing really. They're really useful. So the kind of hole diameter you want to drill is probably ideally about, I mean, you do get standard, it's standard sort of thing. You can, if you look it up on Google and say what size do I drill to cut a 4mm thread, it'll give you the dimensions to do it. I mean, I'll drill a 3mm hole and just see if the tap goes in, sort of thing. So we'll start off with that and rock and roll, and I'll get back to you. Just quite quickly, so I've drilled the holes to tap the tailpiece here to take the bridge posts. Just a quick guide on tapping, sort of thing. Here's your typical wrench for a tap. The end of the tap is square, and then you can screw up the handle, sort of thing. This one's not very good really, but when you start off, just you've got to press down a little bit, and if it won't go in, if it's too tight, I mean, I started off drilling a 3mm hole, and yeah, it was obviously like too small, so I've gone up to like 3.5mm, I think it is. If you start trying to tap thing in and you can feel the tap like twisting, stop and drill a little bit of a bigger hole. Just push down and then go both ways, because you know you get a little bit of a burr coming up, and you want to like snap that up sort of thing. But I mean, tapping through such thin plate as this is you know, pretty difficult to get a nice thread cut anyway, but just it helps sort of thing. We kind of through now, so I can just carry on. And I've drilled the same diameter hole through the resin as well, so I'm probably, you know, tapping the resin, but I don't think that will take a very good tap. So there we go. Quite simple. I mean, you know, you've got it, don't really have to tap it. You could drill a hole, and you know, if it's wood, you can drill a smaller hole and then hammer the pillars in, sort of thing, the studs in. But going into resin, I don't know. But so let's see how this taps in now. Perfect. Let's put a wheel on. That actually goes in quite nice. I mean, you could actually solder these posts to the tailpiece if you wanted to. It should be fine. See how accurate the holes are. There we go, perfect. The only thing, as usual, I'm worried about with these things is you know, the height. Really, ABR bridges are built for arch-top guitars, not flat-top guitars, because, you know, you need quite a lot of height. I mean, you can file those steps down to make it sit further down on the post, but you can see that bridge now is fully down. Well, the next, if I hold the neck in now, we'll see how. Yeah, so it's fully down. Neck's on. Well, it's not too bad actually. Probably fully. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the bridge isn't too high, isn't ridiculously high or anything. So that's all right. But you know, I wanted to put an ABR on this. I don't know why, just to be different rather than a strap bridge. But a strap bridge will sit a lot lower, meaning that you don't have to have, you know, the pickup so high or the neck so high out of the pocket, but just a different look. I think it looks quite funky sort of thing. So there we go. A lot of old bollocks really, yeah, but there we are. One thing I was actually thinking of doing with this, I mean, we've got these screws round here that look very steampunky Victorian. I think they look great, and I was wondering on this whether to drill holes around the edge of it and put rivets in, just to give it like a riveted look, which would look really Victorian as well. I don't know. Run that past the wife, see what she says, and we go from there. But the next thing to do now really is take all this off again. I've got to drill a hole from underneath the tailpiece to the pickup cavity, so I can put an earthen wire in and into the control cavity there. So I'm really liking the look of this guitar. I mean, A lot of them, you know, but some of them I build are kind of meh, you know, don't really float my boat. But this one I just think looks great. Just everything's come together on it. I think it looks. I love the headstock shape, which is something I did really quickly, sort of thing. And the wife, you know, came up with that idea of doing a pound sign, sort of thing, for a headstock, and then a bit of decouperage with the money on there. So I'll be lacquering over that. I've got a Dina decal coming to put on the front. Yeah, so what I'll do now, I think, is go in and have a cup of coffee. But yeah, ask the missus what she thinks about putting rivets all around this, and then we'll go from there. Thank you. Right, hi there. I've taken the bridge off now, but you can see, and these screw in really nicely. And there's a couple of things I'm tempted to do. I don't like to see the pillars stick out above the bridge, so I've wound them down till they're just level with the top of the bridge. Now the bridge is only going to be, I'll set the neck angle so the bridge is almost at the bottom when the strings are, you know, too low, just a bit too low, so I can then raise the bridge up a little bit. But I've got like a good probably like 6-7 mil of movement, sort of thing, up and down before I start any risk of the bridge becoming loose on the posts, you know, a bit wobbly on the posts, sort of thing. So we're fine with that. I'm tempted to try and solder these posts in to the bridge. Actually, there's no real need. I've got two things I can do. I can drill the holes in the body to this depth so they actually rest on the bottom of the holes, which I'm not so keen on that. So in the first instance, I'm going to try and solder these on and see how it all goes. And if I can solder it on, then, you know, I've got what I'm a bit worried about is this being a bit thin. So, you know, you've only got a few threads in there that are supporting the stress of the strings on top. But if I can solder it, it will be fine. We'll see how it goes. You'll have a go at soldering, and then if they solder, we're all good. If not, have to go to a plan B, sort of thing. I mean, they actually do thread into the resin quite well. I mean, it's really taken those threads really well, and I'm kind of wondering whether to just, you know what I think I'm going to do. The problem is you're not going to be taking this off very often, but I mean, that is absolutely solid. That is really good. So I'm tempted to actually, rather than soldering, which what I'm worried about with the soldering is, you know, these posts are gold plated, and I don't think the solder will take to gold. So what I think I'll do is, I didn't really realise this resin had taken the threads so well. So I think I'll drill that a bit deeper, and so I can just, you know, screw the tailpiece plate on, and then just thread the posts down to the right depth, because I mean that is absolutely solid in there. It's really good. I'm surprised. So let's do that then. Make them a bit deeper. We've got to make the holes, measure this depth there. We've got to make them at least 17 mil deep, and at the moment they're nowhere near that, so we've got to go down a long way. So let's get that done, and then see what we can do then. Cheers. Oh, hi there. I've got the earth wiring now under the bridge. Here it is. I've just scraped a little channel in that goes underneath the foot of that, so it will squash down there, and I've drilled an angled hole through that comes out in the rear pickup cavity there and then ends up there, sort of thing, so that should be fine. I've drilled these deeper and threaded them, and again the thread went in there really well. I'm really surprised about that, when considering that wood screws wouldn't hold at all, so that's quite good. So I can actually finally fit the C-shaped bridge now. We've got everything done for it. Yeah, screw that in and then that will be done, so we'll go from there. And well, hi there. Had some success. So here's the kind of control plate. Now I've put these rivets in, and what I did, I actually sawed them off because they're too long. Sawed them off so they just went like in the holes, and then soldered on the back, sort of thing. You can just see on one of the rivets a bit of solder's gone through there, but I'm not bothered about that. I did try my soldering iron to solder them, and it might have done it, but it seemed to be taking ages, so I just got one of the little plumbing gas things and the cylinder things and soldered them in. So that's what the riveted control panel looks like now. I mean, talk about like I got like you know, the pots and stuff, and and the switch today, and like, so I buy these pots, and it just seems to be the way of the world nowadays. Oh yeah, that they'll go in a pick guard, you know, and you think, like, you know, when you mount a pot in a pick guard, like, you don't generally have that much thread showing, otherwise the knob will look stupid. It will sit far too high. I mean, if we put a knob on that, let me get one. Right, back. So here's a strap one pressed on right down to the bottom, and how stupid that looks. It's so high. Yet with these pots, like, they only come with one nut, so you can't, like, you know, undo the top nut a bit, push them down, and then have another nut underneath. I mean, how fucking useless, honestly. Now I've got to find a load of nuts to put on it, and I'm sure if I looked at it, those damn things in the picture are like got two nuts with them, but no, they've only got one nut. Even this only has one nut. The what's it, little things like that really upset me. I just think it's like, you know, it's a bloody con, you know, because you can't, they're not usable. So I might have some spare nuts lying around. The switch has got two nuts on it, but anyway, rant over with. Let's just put it in here now, see what it'll look like. Oh, see, so there we go. Anyway, so I think it's looking really cool now. Wiring to do, set up, still quite a lot of work to do, but I think that looks pretty damn good. So see you tomorrow. Well, hi there. I'm a bit at 2 and 8 with the videos this morning. I don't know, the phone stopped working and stuff, so I'll just go over again. So we've got this control plate now with the stuff bolted in it. Like I say, quite irritating that these things didn't have 2 more nuts on them. I mean, I must have a drawer full of potentiometers with no bloody nuts on them, sort of thing, which is just irritating. So I managed to find one nut to do this one, to space it correctly for the knob. This one I've had to put spacers underneath, which I don't like because it looks bodgy, but I haven't got a nut for it, so if I get one at a later date I can put that in. The slight thing we've got with this is the body is so thin, you know, it's SG territory sort of thing, I've had to drill some deeper holes where the switch is and the output jack to give it enough room to go in properly. So the switch is actually set quite high, which I don't mind really. I do like this switch because it's very industrial looking, sort of thing. And this is one of the switches with the least depth to it. I mean, if you go to a Fender style slide slot, slide in switch, the big D-shaped one underneath, that's far deeper than this, so this would never fit it. That would never fit in this body. You can get the Gibson style ones that are cranked at 90 degrees. They might give me a bit more room, but then I prefer this sort of knob looking like that. So that's that kind of sorted, ready to go in. I've been doing the headstock here and drilling the holes for the tuners. I've got 4 and 2 sort of thing. The unfortunate thing is that I could only get these. These are quite nice quality tuners. I do like having good quality tuners. I don't know where they come from, but I've used them before and they're really nice. Slight problem is that they're chrome sort of thing and don't really match the guitar. But I'd have liked sort of open tuners and kind of a bit coppery looking sort of thing. But just have to go with these because these were the only ones that were available that I could buy in a 4 and a 2. Otherwise I'd have had to have spent, bought 2 sets, a left hand set and a right hand set of complete tuners, and that could have set me back like 80 quid or something. So I didn't want to do that. So I've gone with these, and yeah, I'll I mean, they can easily be replaced, but they'll probably look okay. Well, I think they probably, they look okay. So when you actually drill for tuners, a couple of things to be careful of is that, put them, when you drill them, make sure that, you're not thinking, oh, I can squeeze more in there sort of thing, and you measure them like that, and you put them in and you realise they clatter against one another. And equally, when you come to something like, say, this over here, where you've got something jutting out, you're not going to end up with the tuner bonking it or anything, otherwise it would just be a disaster. Kind of keep in mind that you need a certain amount of spacing for them. Also, they nearly typically of all tuners, the centre line is set about 12 mil in, 11 to 12 mil in from the edge, which makes it look good. So so that's that done. What I think I'll do now is I've been sanding this on and off, and I've got 5 minutes, so it's really ready to to give a lacquer in sort of thing. So I'll do that, and yeah, so that should be all good. So I'll get on with a bit more sanding and we go from there. Well, we'll start doing some wiring now. So I've got the things sort of set up here. Here's the two leads coming out of the pickups. Here's what we're going to be wiring to, obviously. I'm not very good at wiring. I understand a lot more about it than I used to now, but as far as I'm concerned, electronics or electrics is all about smoke. If you keep the smoke in the wires, it works. So you've got to stop the smoke coming out, otherwise nothing works once the smoke escapes. All this bollocks about electrons is a load of rubbish, I think. But anyway, this is my smoke gauge. Tells me what smoke's going to come out. Well, joking aside, let's just do some basic checks here first of all. So we've got a multimeter that they called, I think, in the old money. basically you want to select ohms with it, that basically tells you whether the things are connected together. If you get, like, you can see on there, there's now one being displayed. These are the two leads that go into it. One is being displayed that there's no connection at all. Connect these two together and it goes down to 0 because you've got like perfect connection. Now with a pickup, obviously you've got thousands of winds of very, very thin copper wire, which gives you a resistance. Basically it takes a bit to push whatever the signal through it. So when you're looking at pickups, usually the resistance is about 7,000 ohms, something around there, 3,500 to 7,000 ohms, and even higher as well for some of them, the really, really powerful, like heavy metal sounding instruments. So with this being a humbucker, basically there's a lot of wires that come out of it. You get like 2 coils, so you have 4 wires coming out, the start and end of each coil basically, and they are connected together. I think the inside wire of one coil connects to the outside wire of the other coil. However it goes, there's different ways of doing it. Anyway, what I want to do now is check what we actually have. I mean, you can see here on this already, the green and white wire are connected together. Now they're the connection between the 2 coils, so you can leave that alone. That's already done for you there from the manufacturer. So you've got the red wire, which I'm assuming is what they call the hot wire that the signal comes from, and then you've got the earth. So if we connect between there and there, you should see, a decent ohms figure. Oh, not that one. There's that black wire there. So now we see, blimey, this is a really powerful pickup. 16,000 ohms. And that's for the, I know that's for the bridge pickup here, so that's mighty lot of winds around there. Yeah, that's quite a lot. Let's do the front pickup now. Right, and we're 7,000 ohms there on the neck pickup, and I know these are 2 iron gear pickups. One is a much more powerful one, sort of thing, which I've stuck in the back here. Again, I might change that out. It might be too much for me, but easy to change out. But sometimes they'll sound fine. So that basically checks out that the pickups are going to work. So what you've got here on this wire, you've got the green and white wire connect the 2 coils together, and like I say, if you look up like the manufacturer sort of thing, they'll say how they connected together. Usually it's the start of one coil, I think, connects to the end of the other coil, or whatever. Now we've got 2 black wires coming out of here. One is from the coil, and one is probably just soldered to the metalwork of the pickup, sort of thing. So both those can be tied together and then soldered up as one earth. So basically here, we're ready to go really. Just check again. I'm sure the black one was the the black lead is to the bridge pickup. Now equally, what's good about using a multimeter like this, you can check something. So this is the switch. It's only got 3 contacts on the bottom, which make it really easy. So I'm guessing that the middle contact is the output that will go to the jack socket via the volume and tone, and then these 2 connect to the back and the front pickup. So you've got this switch in the middle there now, so that should be both pickups on. So assuming that's the output, the middle one, you put that on there, and you can see the gauge jumps to 0, so you've got a connection to the front terminal on the switch. If you connect to the back, you've got a connection on the back as well, which makes sense because we're in the middle now. If you flick it just so you've got the neck pickup on, go to there, back to there, right, so the front contact is for the neck pickup, that is on, which all makes sense geographically. The back pickup then isn't on. There's no connection between the output in the middle and the back. So let's click this to the back now. So this one should be on now. Connect up there. Yep, that's on. The front one's not on. No connection there. So that kind of sorts out. I'm very simple, but you can see, the use of having one of these gauges, one of these measuring things, just helps you out a little bit. You can also do a simple check. Now, do you remember we put this earthing wire in between the bridge tailpiece and the control cavity? Let's see if that is actually connected properly to this. Yep, goes straight to 0, see? Can you see this? Can't even see it, can you? Twit. So that goes straight to 0, so you've got a good connection between there and there. It's really handy having that when you're diagnosing guitar wiring. It's so easy just to go in there, get all confused and rip it all out, and it's really something quite simple. What I'm going to do is, I don't usually advocate shortening these wires. I like to keep them full length so the pickups can be swapped between guitars, but there's no way I've got the room in here to do that, so they'll have to be shortened down. So I'm going to cut them off about that long, so it'll give me plenty of connection there. Let's do that right now. I don't commit to this. A bit more room. Get rid of that. So there we go. We've got no choice now, but it will make it a lot neater. So I'll get ready to go, and then we'll get back to you. Well, here we are. This is what I've got now. I've got the wires from the pickups coming out here. I've rejoined the white and the green together on both pickups, and what I've also done is there were 2 earth wires coming out of each pickup, one from the coil and one from the base of the pickup. Basically, I've combined them all together, so they're all earth wires, so they'll just go to earth. So there's 4 wires connected here, one from each pickup, and I'll show you what I'm going to do there. So we'll just get up and solder these on again. Not really too technical stuff. You don't need a gallon of solder, just a little bit. So there we go, that's those soldered. I do use, you don't want any bare wires flying around sort of thing, so I do find it nice to use. The last thing you want to do is screw the control plate down and have a bit of wire that you know, shorts out or something like that. So just use a bit of shrink sleeving over these, and they need heating up. So I just use the soldering iron and heat them up, and then they shrink. There we go, so they're nicely on there now. So we're back to square one with that. Now these 4 wires down here, these earth wires, what I want to do, I don't really like these multi-cable things that they put on now, is I've combined them all together, so I've only got one earth lead to do now, so I've got a bit of extra cable here, bit of wire. Use the good old teeth stripping. So I combine all these into one wire. And just make it easier down the line. You're not soldering loads of things to the back of potentiometers. Where's my solder gone? There we go. So basically now the 4 earth wires are combined just to this one, so we can put that to the bottom of the pot instead of having 4 wires soldered, sort of thing, which are, you know, you're heating up the pot a lot. And what I want to do is I want to put a piece of shrink sleeve in, because the wires, the earth wires that come from the base of the pickup are just bare. I don't want them around when the switch goes on top. So what I'm going to do is get another length of shrink sleeve in. This comes in all sorts of diameters, so don't know which one I'm going to use. See if we can get this one on. I don't think this one will go. No, we'd have to have a fatter one than that. Let's get a fat one there. Put this on. So this will cover all the bare wires now from the pickups back to the leads there. So we'll just shrink that down. Hopefully this will shrink enough. I think you should really use a flame for this, but it doesn't really matter. Right, so we're all ready to go now to start connecting stuff up. We know the one from the black, from the back pickup was the black lead, so this has basically got to go to the switch here, to the back one of the switch, because we checked that. God, I wish my eyes were 20 years younger. And then we've got the one from the front pickup there. Let's just check that again. We haven't got any stupid mistakes. So the black wire's going to the back. Yep. Nice and simple, solder them on. Right, okay, so that's all we've got to do now left is solder this to the base of this pickup to do the earth. So all the pickup connections are basically done now. Shall we do, I don't want to do that earth yet because, you know, I want to earth all these things back to the jack, so I can wind another wire on that, do that. Let's do that now. The old Need a little bit of wire going across there. Okay, if we just put a blob of solder on the bottom here. You don't want to be too long on the solder on these. I don't like getting the pots too hot. There we go, you got a nice puddle of solder on there. Just put the wire on there. Okay, that's good. Another length of black wire. There to there, that should be plenty. I mean, I should add, I think, have I said it already, that you don't really need to do this all when you've got a metal control plate, because that does the earthing for you. That just acts like a wire, but I don't know, force of habit. Right, you've got to check on these which is the earth connection. So the earth on the jack is the long one where it goes actually through the socket. The tip is the bit that's the hot one, so for some reason this jack has got like 3 connections. It only needs 2, but it's not that one. It's not that one. Must be that one. Yeah. So that's the earth connection there. Also, when you're soldering, be careful where you're putting your soldering iron down. I had a guy with a really expensive Gibson soldering in a new switch put the soldering iron down on the back of the guitar and ended up with a big burn on it. So be careful with that. So that's all the earth wiring done now. Now we've got to do the potentiometer. So this is the output from the switch in the middle. Let's use some red lead. That goes to the bottom, if you look at the underside of the pot, goes to the right hand leg of the pot. So let's get a rough length for that. That'll be plenty. Get that soldered in first. Okie doke. There we go, that's that in. I'll tell you one thing I've forgotten to solder up. I could have put on that thing was the earth-in wire for the bridge, but I can easily solder that on. Now this center lug of the pot, that if you didn't have a tone control, that would go straight to the jack. But I think it goes straight. You can get this goes to the tone pot as well. So let me just remind myself of the wiring, and I'll get back to you. Okay, I made a bit of a slight mistake. Well, not really a mistake, but it's this right hand lug of the tone pot, of the volume pot, that connects to the left hand lug of the tone pot. So you need two wires going into there, one from the switch, the input from the pickups, and then that legs off to the left hand of the tone pot. So we'll get soldering that on. Now also what needs to happen on the volume pot, the left hand lug of it needs to be earthed, so you can solder it to the back of the volume pot, or put a piece of wire. I mean, I've just bent the lug over to the edge of the casing of the volume pot. It saves you a bit of wire. But yeah, that's fairly easily done. Now the next thing you need to make a tone pot work is a capacitor, and you know, you've all seen these orange jock ones are 0.2 223k. Yeah, it's an orange drop capacitor anyway, and they connect from the center leg of the tone to earth. And some people do it, they combine this connection, put the capacitor across there, but that's all you've got to do is connect this via the capacitor to earth anywhere, and fairly easily done. What I like to do is actually put the capacitor on the bottom of the pot. Now the problem is you get otherwise, you know, it could catch in stuff when you push it in or something. It's quite safe there, but one thing I like to do is just put so you don't get anything shorting out, this leg that's going to the contact. That doesn't want to touch earth, so I just slip a little bit of insulation over it, and then you won't get any problem with that. So now I can solder that in there without any worry about this bit of bare lead touching anything. So let's get that solder joint done first. Alright, so that's done. Now we can just snip the wiring. Is fiddly, but providing you do it properly. Right, so that's got that out of there. Now that can go on the back of the pot where it's nice and safe, and then we can solder the other lug of it to earth on there. That's absolutely fine. The right hand lug on the tone pot is not connected to anything. Okay, so we got that on now, so I've only got a couple of connections to go. We want one lead going to the output there. Sorry this video is long, but I thought I'll just complete it all. These multimeters, by the way, are really cheap and great value. Save you a lot of hassle. Wrong connection, so let's get this in there. Soldered in. And let's check out which is the tip connection on here. I don't know why that's got two bloody connections, for some battery thing or something. So the tip of the jack connects to here. So let's put, is it that one? That looks like it. Well, that one connects as well. I don't know why, but I'm definitely going to connect it to that one. I'm sure it's that one. That done. So the only thing we've got left to do now is connect the bridge. Which way should we do that? Twist it over like that. Come up this side, just solder it on there. What I'm going to do again is belts and braces, but I'm going to stick just a little bit over that, so where it's under the switch and I push it down, there's no risk of it like interfering with the contact on the switch. Let's just solder that on. Just cut that mess off there. Right, okay, so we're all wired up. That should be good now. Unless we find we've done something wrong. But yeah, I mean, wiring is, I don't like doing it, but it's fairly simple. This is a fairly straightforward Telecaster wiring. With some gretches and stuff like that, you get some pretty complicated stuff. Well, I suppose it's not complicated for an electrician, but I'm not an electronics guy, so can get a bit more complicated. One of the things you've got to watch out for is when you have a Les Paul and you have a volume and tone for each individual pickup. Obviously, in that case, the volumes for the pickups have got to be before they reach the switch, before they get into one. And the problem you get is that when you have the individual pickups connected, like the bridge or the neck, and the switch forward or back, they work fine, as you'd expect them to work. When you have both pickups on, you get that really odd thing where you turn the volumes and the volume will be going down as you'd expect, then it jumps up and things, and the reason is you've actually got two volume controls parallel to one another, so you've got two variable resistors parallel to one another. So, but some people like that because you get that quite quacky, out of phase sound. But what you can do is, if you look inside your Les Paul, if you don't like that and you want them to behave normally as you'd expect them to behave, you see where you get the output, the pickup connects into this right hand leg. What you do is you take that wire off from the pickup there and connect it to the left hand leg. Do that on both volume pots, and then the guitar will behave how you expect it to behave. You basically just swap over the connectors, and what that basically does, it somehow basically the volume pots don't see one another, so they're not in parallel with one another, and they behave properly. I don't know the ins and outs of why it works, but it does. But generally people feel that that's a bit detrimental to the ultimate sound of the Les Paul, but it's something you can do if you don't want that kind of odd quirkiness of the parallel volume pots when you've got both pickups selected. Just a snippet there, so keep the smoke in the wires and stay happy.